Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today's video will be the full review on the Kotori Zephyr. If you haven't checked out the unboxing video, feel free to do so. The Zephyr comes in pretty neat packaging and comes with nice accessories. The Zephyr is from a boutique brand called Kotori Audio, which is based in Singapore. It retails for $150 and is a truly special IEM all around, and I'll tell you why. Here are the specs of the Zephyr. It features one titanium-coated dynamic driver and one Knowles BA driver. Inside the Zephyr, it features a set of acoustic pathways and a laser-cut acoustic balancer tube to allow the dynamic driver to operate more effectively and balances out the air pressure inside without needing any vents on the Zephyr. The Zephyr features a machined aluminum faceplate with a hexagonal shape. I think the faceplate design looks pretty cool. The edges of the hexagon is a bit sharp, but it doesn't affect the comfort as it doesn't touch your ear. The shell is 3D printed to resemble custom IEM shells. The acoustic pathways are integrated into the 3D printed shells. As you can see, the Zephyr has a quite pronounced wing structure and a long nozzle design. The 2-pin connectors are flush on the Zephyr. The Zephyr comes with Kotori's carbon-free 2-pin cable. The carbon-free utilizes silver-plated OFC lit conductors. It has a clear cable jacket. It's flexible and doesn't feel rubbery. It also has a really nice machined aluminum splitter and slider. It's very well made and functional, just a bit too big for my preference. The cable is terminated with an injection molded mini jack. It's small and lightweight, which I like. I am surprised how well the Zephyr fit my ears despite the distinctive shape of the shell. I didn't have any issues or discomfort with the wing or long nozzle. However, how the Zephyr fits will vary for different people. It's worth pointing out that I had to use much smaller tips than usual in order for the Zephyr to fit, due to the long nozzle. I usually use M-size Type E tips for normal IEMs, but for the Zephyr I had to use the smaller size. So be sure to play around with the ear tips. The passive noise isolation is also very good for an IEM with a dynamic driver. Thanks to the pressure balancing pathways inside, I never felt any pressure build-up or experienced any driver flex. It's impressive how Kotori pulled this off without needing to use a vent. The Zephyr is a really easy set to drive. I only need to use around 12 steps of volume out of 100 in low gain on my DX180, using the single-ended output. It's also able to reflect the characteristics of the source you give it. The Zephyr has a neutral tuning, a flat neutral tuning, with a mildly elevated bass shelf, somewhat similar to what you will see in etymotic IEMs. The Zephyr sounds really coherent. There wasn't once I was able to distinguish if a note was produced from the dynamic driver or the BA driver, which isn't always the case for some hybrid IEMs. The drivers are able to maintain a similar tonality and texture throughout the frequency response in the Zephyr. The mids of the Zephyr do not sound dry or clinical. The tonality of the mids were the first thing I noticed with the Zephyr when I first heard it. It has very unique second harmonics to its mid-range, which adds a sense of realism and richness to the mids. The result is a detailed and natural-sounding mid-range. Instruments, especially acoustic instruments, sound very realistic with the Zephyr. The Zephyr definitely isn't a set for bass heads. The titanium-coated dynamic driver produces really quick and snappy bass, with a relatively short decay, which sounds a bit similar to the bass a planar driver produces. So don't expect deep thumping bass from the Zephyr. Instead, you'll get clean, quick, and resolving bass, which I think works pretty well on fast rock and metal tracks. You can really clearly hear each drum note. The treble is tamed and well controlled on the Zephyr. You don't get a huge amount of micro details in the treble, but it's smooth and non-fatiguing to listen to, and it maintains a good overall tonal balance in the Zephyr. The Zephyr has an intimate soundstage that wraps around your head. Although the soundstage isn't particularly large or wide, the positioning of different instruments are well presented. You will be able to hear if the instruments or vocals are closer or further from you in different tracks. So I would say the depth is pretty good as well. Compared to the already low master, the bass response of the Zephyr is much quicker, and the Zephyr also has more detail in the bass. The vocals are more forward on the Zephyr. The low master felt a bit failed in comparison. When comparing the treble, the low master is slightly brighter, especially in instruments like electric guitars and violins, etc. I haven't listened to the ER2XR for a while, and comparing both of them, I can't believe how different they sound. Despite both having a relatively flat frequency response, the ER2 sounded a lot darker and warmer. The bass hit a lot harder than the Zephyr, especially in the sub-bass region, and the vocals were more laid back. In comparison, the Zephyr sounded brighter. There's an openness and clarity in the mids and vocals, which were lacking in the ER2. It has more definition in the bass, but less quantity and punch. Treble is relatively tame for both sets. Overall, they are two very different sounding flat tuning IEMs. There are a few genres I really enjoy listening to when using the Zephyr. I think it does especially well in reproducing music with acoustic instruments. For example, jazz, classical, and anything with real instruments. With the relatively flat frequency response and the unique mid-range performance I talked about, there's a great sense of realism when listening to real instruments. Let's talk about who the Zephyr is not for first. If you're a treble head or a bass head, I don't think this will be for you. Overall, the tonality of the Zephyr is a bit flat. It is a bit lacking in dynamics, but the trade-off is a smooth overall tonality. Second, if you don't like long nozzles and deep insertion, you might not like how the Zephyr wears. These are the two major cons I can think of with the Zephyr. Now let's talk about who this might be for. This will be for you if you like a monitor style flat tuning. Listening to the Zephyr does remind me of some active studio monitors. An overall very quick and neutral tuning. Doesn't feel that any part of the frequency response is exaggerated. If you are someone that listens to a lot of acoustic instruments, I think the Zephyr will suit you too. It has one of the most realistic reproduction of instruments I've ever heard in an IEM, due to its unique sounding second harmonics in the mids and flat tuning. I also enjoy listening to some older music with the Zephyr. It's a forgiving IEM even if the recording isn't too good. I find that old music from the Grateful Dead and the Beatles especially enjoyable on the Zephyr compared to Harman tuning sets, as vocals often sound recessed on those type of tunings with older recordings. So if you're someone that listens to a lot of older recordings, this may be for you. The Zephyr is a very special IEM on the market in many ways. Its fit, its look, and its tuning is all truly special. To me, the Zephyr isn't something you'll be impressed by off the bat, but instead, it's something you'll appreciate more the more time you spend with it. It's one of those IEMs that I'm able to discover new things in my music collection that I wasn't aware of before. It's also a set that allows you to listen to your music close to how it was intended to sound in the first place. In conclusion, the Zephyr is a great addition to a collection if you are looking for a neutral or monitoring set of IEMs. They don't provide a lot of excitement in terms of dynamics, but are able to provide an accurate representation of your music. So this is the end of the video. Let me know if you have any questions about the Zephyr in the comments below. I'll try my best to answer them. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you found it useful. Thank you for watching.